when there is still investigation on it, they weren't discussed.
There was resistance, you say?
They weren't discussed at the
They
onset.
weren't discussed. Okay, thank you.
I just understand how it is explained. I accept when people are working that you have a system where one team that's working in the matter, they will keep it within the team. And it's easy to think about a need-to-know principle that, well, people don't need to know, and that's how you manage information. But the idea that matters are sensitive, therefore, they will not be discussed with you, for example. When you hold a particular position, you're head of investigations, you have taken oath, you are bound to the same principles or the same rules as your ID of confidentiality, and if you disclose, you've broken the law. It applies equally to her. How does it get explained, and how do you reconcile with, well, you can't know certain things. A DPP, another DDPP will know, but you can't know, as if you're not subject to the same rules. Can you just explain to us how it is explained in the office and how that is reconcilable with the position you hold?
Commissioners, some of those sensitive matters, as it were, like I indicated, like your speaker matter, they were discussed with me. The explanation about sensitivity stems from the fact that they are matters that sort of the ID owns. You know, they come from her office, she decided on their authorization, and then she decides also who, as opposed to other matters, who is designated in those matters. So for instance, other matters, as I indicated, it will be the deputies that decides the designations of members who will be part of that team. However, in those matters, the ID herself would decide who she wants to be in those matters. So that is how it worked. And I would, from time to time, get complaints, for instance, from even deputies that you find there are resources in their projects who have been roped in to the ID matters, and they would want them to task them on other matters, and an investigator, for instance, will say, no, I'm busy with an ID matter, you know, and there would be those kind of issues that I have now to deal with, to say, how do I then assist with resources so that the other projects do not suffer, because some resources are put on those matters.
And by that, you mean they will be taken out of their teams? Because
Yes.
as I understand it,
Yes.
they all belong to those 4 teams. So they would be taken out of those teams and plonked elsewhere altogether.
Yes, on these projects.
Maybe lastly, so it sounds from your explanation, including the answer to the chair, that there was no, or there was no objective criteria. You've told us about the intake process and what criteria and the scoring that you do about matters that eventually get taken or rejected. The ID matters, as you call them, there was no objective organizational criteria. It was entirely up to the ID. She gets a matter and she decides, however she gets it. If it came to her directly, she decides whether this gets treated like the speaker matter or gets treated like your Project Golden matter, where it's entirely up to her to make the decision.
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner. And that's why I'm saying not all, in fact, almost all matters were dealt with in line with, what I previously said about, being assessed and so forth, either by me or by my other colleagues, the deputies. But those that she made decisions on, that's where there was that a difference, because the approach would be different as compared to other matters.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Bond.
And just one more question on this. At a stage where it's clear now, I mean,